Hello everyone, back tuning into today's second video. Going to have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days for today's second video. That's going to take us to around the 23rd of November, and we'll be able to extend out beyond that with the extended GFS and ECMWF ensemble, so we're to around a couple of weeks. We will have a look at the CFS at the end of the video as well for the next 4 weeks. That takes us well into November. Running really late with videos today. I had a blue screen of death crash while I was recording the 5D forecast, which has held everything up. So I'm just going to rattle through this one as quickly as I can. We've got the 5th Christmas update coming up for you tonight. We're going to have a bit of a laugh and see what CFS is showing for Christmas for the 5th time this season. So that'll be around 7 o'clock. I'm going to start off with the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks. I'm at Brig in Lincolnshire today. This is another suggested location for this part of the video. So if you'd like to have your local town or city featured within this section of the videos, then please email us at gazoffice@gmail.com, or you can ask us through the Gazoffice comment facility on YouTube and also website, or of course you can suggest your location on social media on our Facebook and Twitter accounts. We are very happy to feature your local town or city in this part of the video when we get the chance. So we're looking at Brig in Lincolnshire. Red line is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Brig. And we're colder than average at the moment. Have been quite cold for a few days, of course. We're going to stay below average with the temperatures over the next few days. Through the middle of next week and beyond, though, it does look as though we're lifting the temperature up as we move into the final week of November. It looks like we're going to go into a milder phase for a while anyway. Quite a lot of scatter in the closing days of November. We have these ensemble members down here that are really quite cold. These ones up here are a lot milder, a lot warmer. So a bit of uncertainty as we get through towards the final stages of November. But I think what we can say reliably in next week, 10 days, starting quite cold and staying generally fairly cold up to the early part of next week, and then getting milder through the middle and second half of next week appears to be the trend. But more significantly, probably than what temperature is doing, is actually what we're seeing with precipitation. So again, we're going to have further rain coming up over the next couple of weeks. Going to be turning quite wet across many parts of the country tonight and into tomorrow. That rain is with Brig later tomorrow into Friday. Then beyond that, perhaps a little bit drier over the weekend for a time, but next week looks increasingly unsettled as the temperature is getting milder. So also we're seeing a lot of heavy rain being signalled there. So the deluge goes on. It's going to be a very, very wet November indeed. I think it's probably going to be one of the top 20 wettest Novembers on record, and there will be further heavy rain to come in the next week or two, I'm afraid, and so the flooding concerns will continue. Temperature anomalies from the 13th to 21st of November are going to be below average, a cold average week coming up for the UK and for Ireland. In fact, most of Western Europe is looking colder than average, but warmth is over in the east and southeast of Europe, as it has been over the past few weeks. But we are going to be colder than average, really, in the week ahead. Precipitation anomalies from the 13th of November to 21st of November. Again, looking wetter than average for England and Wales. That's been the case on and off for the past few weeks. It's going to be a wet week coming up. For Western Scotland, it's actually a little bit drier than average. This tells us this is an unusual unsettled weather pattern. It's not typical. The northwest is drier than the southeast, which is not a normal sort of zonal west-southwesterly type situation. So this is how the GFS is looking for Saturday. This is all covered by a 5D forecast. Of course, low pressure is going to be sitting to our east on Saturday, and there could be more wet weather in the southeast corner. Sunday through to Monday, things start to turn a little bit drier, but from Tuesday onwards, the low pressure is driving in from the Atlantic, so that looks very unsettled through the early part of next week. And this goes on into second half of next week. We've got a 980 millibar area of low pressure there, almost over the top of the country for Thursday, the 21st of November. That will drive in more heavy bouts of rain from the south and from the southwest. The wind is shifting though a little bit in direction, going more towards a southwesterly. So that will allow the temperature to lift up. The only difference really is that we're going to be talking about slightly less cold rain, I think. But essentially we're still driving in wet weather from off the Atlantic. And this carries on as we move up towards day 10, looking very unsettled. However, this GFS run does show a change just beyond day 10. So this gets us to Sunday the 24th of November, and then we start to generate a little bit of a ridge of high pressure. And look what the GFS does with that ridge. It actually turns it into quite a significant feature. So there we are on the 27th of November. High pressure is centered over Scandinavia. We're bringing in the winds a light, gentle east-southeast. It's not a cold wind because it's not a cold source of air. But the main important point that that's doing, it's drying things out. So it's been a long time since we found ourselves under an actual area of high pressure. We have had little transient ridges. We got one of those today, actually, but never lasting more than a few hours before the next low is rolling in. But this one is actually taking us into a much drier end to November. And we're under high pressure right way through to the end of the GFS run, which gets us to Friday the 29th of November. Now, all I say about that is that it's a very significant pattern change that's taking place there during the last week of the month compared to what we've had really since late September. So we're going to be a bit wary about this. It could be that the GFS is just going off on a tangent. Alternatively, it could be picking up on something, though, and I think we say let's hope so, because if we do get an area of high pressure going for the last week of November, that will finally allow those river levels to begin to drop a little bit. The weather under that area of high pressure will probably be quite cold. If we looked at the upper air temperatures, I suspect the model will say that the upper air temperatures are mild. Well, not overly so, a little bit on the chilly side actually with the upper air temperature, but you notice the proper cold upper air temperatures are well away from us across western parts of Russia. So it's not a particularly cold source of air with that high pressure. However, on the surface, I suspect it will be fairly chilly. We will probably have frost and fog early and late, and maybe quite significant frost actually under that high pressure if the skies are clear. Alternatively, of course, the other scenario is that we just fill it up with anticyclonic gloom, and then nights would be relatively mild as the cloud layer that's produced by anticyclonic gloom would act as a blanket by night. Days would be relatively grey, cool and chilly. So it would depend whether it's a clear high or a cloudy high. This is how the GM is looking, so that's unsettled as well over the weekend and into the early part of next week. We start to get this little ridge going from the southwest. However, really low pressure still in control of weather through much of next week, either to our south or to our west. You'll expect further spells of rain to be coming through with that at times. Moving up towards day 10, no change really. Low pressure still dominating the weather. So up to day 10, which is the 23rd of November, it looks unsettled or potentially very unsettled with more rain to come. And the ECMWF looks like that. So again, we're looking at some high pressure to our southeast, low pressure, I should say, to our southeast and northwest, with a little bit of a ridge across Scotland on Saturday. Gradually through the early part of next week, we turn things a little bit drier, but not for long. Here comes the low pressures back in from the Atlantic during the middle of next week. This is Wednesday, week away, 20th of November. Low pressures driving in from the Atlantic. That's been further bouts of heavy rain. The wind is shifting round, though, to more of a southerly direction, so that is pulling up milder air from the south or the southwest, but these areas of low pressure would still produce spells of rain. That's how we look as we get to day 10, which is Saturday the 23rd of November. Got a long fetch southerly there, so if you follow the isobars about, the areas originating from the Mediterranean and North Africa and pushing northwards across the west of Europe. So that obviously is going to be bringing much milder temperatures with it. Still with low pressure though off the coast of Portugal, and no doubt still pulling up some rain at times. Look at those upper air temperatures, very, very mild there as we get through to day 10. That might be a little bit of a synoptic outlier with those long fetch southerlies, but maybe we're going to get a spell of much warmer winds from the south in around 10 days' time. If we do, I suspect it will still bring spells of rain. This is how the ECMWF precipitation forecast is looking based on that ECM run from Tameteo.com. So here's the rain coming into the southwest as we speak through through the course of this evening and overnight, this rain starts to pivot and push north. There could be a little bit of hill snow in with that across parts of Wales. Does extend that through the early hours into parts of the Midlands as well. I'm not sure about that. I think it'll be primarily rain for the Midlands, except for places like the Derbyshire Peaks and the Staffordshire moorlands. Could be snow on the Welsh mountains though. Up to midday, we've got this band of heavy rain across much of the southwest England, Wales, through the Midlands, up into East Anglia and Lincolnshire. It's increasingly going towards South Yorkshire again. It's suggesting rain, sleet or snow. I think the snow is overdone. It will be primarily hills and mountains that see snow. The main upshot with this is that it's another bout of really heavy rain that we've got here, and persistent too, just exactly where we had it Thursday last week, where we don't want it at all. So again, it's through Lincolnshire, Yorkshire, down into the northwest of the Midlands, and possibly extending into some northern western parts of Wales too. Through to the early hours of Friday, that pushes further northwards, going further north into northern England and North Wales, beginning to peter out as it does so. Rather showery conditions in the east for England and Wales on Friday. Mainly dry Scotland and Northern Ireland. You'll notice more general rain arriving in the southeast corner by the end of Friday afternoon. That gives us a wet night, overnight Friday into Saturday across much of England and Wales. That pushes across to the west during Saturday morning, but we've got more rain coming in here from the east late Saturday and into Sunday. If this was winter, of course, a lot of this stuff coming in from the east will probably be bringing snow with it. But it's only November, so we're just again talking about lots of cold November rain. As we go through to next week, another system driving in towards this northeast corner, bringing rain to east of Scotland, northeast England perhaps, from the early part of next week. And then low pressure starts to push up back in from the Atlantic. That at least brings a lift up in the temperatures, but it's back to more rain piling in from the south and from the southwest as we're moving through next week. Remember, the winds are shifting into that southerly, southeasterly direction, so it's getting milder through next week, but there is still rain involved, particularly for more southern and western parts of the country. This is the option that got on the table from the ECMWF at day 10. This is for the 23rd of November. So 51 out of 51 members of the ECM ensembles are showing this, including the control and the operational run. So it has high pressure to our east-northeast. It has low pressure to our west-southwest. In between the two, of course, we're probably bringing up that warm southerly southeasterly wind. So actually, it looks like all ensemble members when the ECM ensembles is turning much milder, but also quite unsettled still as we're looking towards day 10. 2 weeks' time, these are the options that we've got. This is for the 28th of November. So we have 28 members of the ECM ensembles that have high pressure over Scandinavia winning the battle. These ones just here have the high over Scandinavia winning the battle, and turning wind probably from a southerly to an easterly. That could start to drag in colder air from the east, of course. 15 members of the ECM ensembles have low pressure dominating from the Atlantic. So that just keeps the deluge and the Atlantic onslaught going. And then 8 have low pressure out to our northwest and a ridge building over or just to our east. That's kind of like what the GFS operational run was showing, I think, actually. That's more of a mid-latitude type high. It is settling things down, but it would be relatively mild with the wind from a southeast direction, although there could be frost and fog if the skies are clear. Finally, the CFS V2, so these are 500 millibar heights broken down into week periods. The first week period takes us from the 13th to the 19th of November. The coming week with low pressure out towards western Scotland and over to the south of the UK. Looks unsettled and quite cold in the week ahead. Week 2 is going to be the 20th to 26th of November. Low pressure then gets pushed more out to our west-southwest. High pressure building to our east. In between the two, we start to drag up milder winds from the south. So it does turn milder, but still probably quite unsettled, particularly for western parts of the country. All change over week 3. This is the 27th of November to the 3rd of December, suggesting high pressure takes over for the beginning of November. So the ridge is centred over Scandinavia, but it's also through the UK and extending towards the Azores high. Low pressure is out here, jet stream getting pushed northwards as well. That's setting things down. Could be quite chilly. Could be bringing in the wind from an easterly, southeasterly direction. I don't think it's overly cold, but it could be quite chilly. The main thing, though, is that it's turning drier. And then go through to week 4, which is the 4th to the 10th of December, with the above average heights then covering most of Western Europe. Jet stream probably doing something a little bit like that. That will bring much colder conditions to the east of Europe. We do have people watching in the east of Europe, and hello to all of you. I know some of you are tearing your hair out about this very mild weather that you've been experiencing for the past few weeks. Cephas is suggesting a change though there, and what would happen with that is that the mildest conditions would envelop the north and west of Europe, and the coldest conditions then would plunge down the eastern side of Europe and into the southeast of Europe too. So places like the Balkans, over to Black Sea, they go north in towards western parts of Russia. Those areas would become coldest on that scenario. So possibly those of you in the east of Europe that have been very mild over the past few weeks, possibly you're going to see a taste of winter by the start of December, whereas us in the northwest, where it's been cold and wet, we possibly go a bit milder, but also, crucially and importantly, a bit drier too. We shall see. It's all speculation. What we can say in a more reasonable time frame is that it's staying unsettled here in the UK for the next week to 10 days. So further bouts of rain to come. There is going to be a risk of flooding across some parts of the country again tonight, tomorrow through to Friday, and just rather wet and unsettled next week. The only change next week is that we shift the wind direction from these cold north-northeasterlies that we've been having over the past few weeks to something rather milder from the south and the southwest. Possibly even a bit warmer, you would say. So the rain will go from being cold rain to a rather milder variety of rain, but it looks like it's still going to be pretty wet, right way up to day 10. And then maybe for the last week of November, just perhaps 1 or 2 signs of something a little bit drier beginning to develop as high pressure then starts to become more influential. It's a long way off though. We're talking about over 10 days away. So a big health warning with that. Right, so that's it for your second video update for today. We'll be back later on at 7 o'clock tonight with the 5th Christmas update. We're going to have a bit of fun, have a laugh, and see what CFS is showing for Christmas again for the 5th time. And that will be with you at 7 o'clock tonight. So come back for that then. That's all for now, though, and thanks for watching.